And then let me know once you can see my screen.
Yeah.
Wonderful, wonderful. So first, why are we even here? What is DueDash all about? For most of you, just in between, I just need to admit some more people. So the thing is that at the moment, there's a lot of people looking for fundraising, trying to actually build their business and going through this process. But many don't know actually how to raise funding. Less of 1% of startups ever raise any funding at all. And those who do often hit the glass ceiling. And investors don't have it much easier. So you might imagine, okay, we have all the leverage, but from the investor side, we have difficulties finding the right startups, analyzing them, making sure it's kind of like a done deal and goes through perfectly. Nikhil here as well is a living example. You know, he screened over 4,000 companies and invested only in 40. It's 1%. Coming back to, no, the only 1% that goes funded. Now with DueDash, we built a solution to actually solve that. An end-to-end investor relations platform that makes sure that you're prepared, you know what investors want, you can go through that whole process and actually come to funding, and also makes life much, much easier for the investor side. So if you're fundraising, if you're thinking about fundraising, now you're in the process of building your business, you can join DueDash and go through the process. So if you're interested also, I will drop also in the chat for you a demo link, and we can walk through this with you one-on-one directly on how the process works. Beyond our core platform, there's also the education aspect. It might be that you're still actually in the process of thinking, what kind of business do I want to build? Or how do I actually convince the investors? How do I go through different meetings? Now, based on our experience about fundraising, building businesses, and also investing, we created a course called Dash to Investability, which takes you step by step on how you have to build an investable business and how you answer even the toughest questions that investors can throw at you. If you already had investor meetings, you can imagine what happens if you don't answer the questions, right? If you slip on the floor and afterwards we just let it go. So you want to make sure that you are able to answer them correctly and succeed in the process. So also that's on the educationdash.com. I will share both links in a second when we kind of get started, also in the chat. DueDash is supported by a lot of different partners, from incubators, accelerators, funds, family offices, to software companies such as who is providing deals and benefits for our startups. So we're also happy to have these on board to guide you on that journey and also work with you. For example, we have a lot of deals and discounts, over 100,000 USD in deals that we also offer to startups on our platform. Now with that, just an introduction. If you have more questions, I'm here throughout the session. You can just reach me out in the chat or via my email, michael@duedash.com. And then let's kind of get going. And with that, I would give it to Nikhil. I'm just gonna put you here on the spot, same as Amos. Yeah, and then the stage is yours, Nikhil, and also for introductions.
Thank you, Michael. Thank you, Amos, for making time today. Amos, you are an amazing guy. Why I do say that? Because, you know, with your background in robotics, I have a bit of a play around there, but they're much like yours, similar to industrial robotics. I used to kind of love the way they used to kind of, you know, work, but that was a lifetime ago. So Amos is an expert in robotics. He's a serial innovator. He's an engineer par excellence, proven track record of successful launching of innovative products. And if I'm not wrong, you were also vice president at Bosch.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
Yeah, it's correct. Yeah.
Okay, go ahead. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to let you talk a little about yourself, let people know who you are, and then we jump right into the session.
Okay. Yeah. So yeah, first of all, thank you very much for having me. Maybe can start with a short introduction of myself. So as you said, Amos, I'm currently the co-CEO and one of the co-founder of Sparkfield. And yeah, as you said, I have a technical background. So I've studied electrical engineering and economics. But I'm more of a techie guy. My PhD was on robotics and mechatronics, and I've also given lectures in control theory at the New University of Hanover. So I've been with Bosch almost 20 years, but all the time in a very innovative space. So, for instance, I've been the chief expert for robotic system, running the strategic program on this, and also this was accompanied with launches of products to the market. But the most formative time for me at Bosch was as a managing director of the Bosch Startup Platform, which was about creating new business, trying out new processes, etc., for ideas which has not found location within Bosch for exploitation. And during this time, I was also a founder and CEO of a startup which was called Deep Field Robotics. It was about agricultural robotics, and at the end of the day, actually, we developed two product families. One was a robotic system for plant phenotyping, scouting, for mechanical, which means chemical-free weed control, and the other was an IoT solution. So basically, sensors, microclimate sensors in the field, connected with an app, which was giving advice to the farmers how to improve their processes, etc. And beginning of 2019, I met with Matthias, who is also here in the line, who is a strength training expert. He is a German champion in bench press. He is also the record holder since 3 months time. So great guy, and he told me about his idea because he envisioned for a long period of time already how to make strength training a more appealing experience, how to bring this to a larger
audience.
A group of people, and I was immediately enthusiastic about this idea because I have seen a robotic system in his idea. This is the solution, and so we started first activities at Bosch. Besides our jobs, we built first ideas, IPs, so patents, applications, etc. And but at the end of the day, unfortunately or fortunately, let's see, we have not found a home for this idea at Bosch because there is no sales channels in fitness, etc. I will tell you more about the idea later on. And so we decided, okay, we are on the right age, we have the experience, we can afford also for some time to live from your own money, from your own pockets. And so we have run through a management buyout program, and with some other entrepreneurs I have also seen. Delia is in the line. We have founded Sparkfield. So this was beginning of last year. And yeah, this is where we are today.
So you know what, I really love to do something very interesting, and I am hoping and assuming there are some investors who could be interested in you. It doesn't matter if they are big investors or small investors. I'm going to put you on a spot. Get you. Matthias is nodding. Let's do an elevator pitch. 60 seconds. Your time starts.
Yeah.
I mean, not by your clock, by the way, which tells times twice a day.
Exactly. So it's not moving forward. So okay. I will stay in time.
Let's put you on a spot. 60 seconds. Your time starts now.
Okay. So Sparkfield is a robotics and software tech startup. Our product is Sparkfield Core, which is a full body strength training machine, which actually is both. It is your personal training partner and also your coach. And the magic behind is that the software defines the motion and the resistances and adapts them actually to your body parameters and your training goals. It is unique in the sense that it allows more than 30 recognized strength training exercises, including the so-called Big Five. It allows for the most state-of-the-art training methods, which makes it very efficient. It is safe, it is intuitive, and of course, it's also a lot of fun. And the best is, all this fits on 2 square meters. So this makes this system fitting perfectly in situation where there is not a huge space, but you have the demand for a highly qualified strength training. So we say on a small footprint actually is the only solution for high qualified strength training. But in our opinion, it is elsewhere anyway the best solution because it's robotics.
And you jumped from a big ship like Bosch, right, which had a security of a paycheck.
Yeah.
And how has been your startup journey so far, and how difficult or how easy it has been?
Yeah, that's really an interesting question. So we have been with Bosch, and we have been backed up and supported very much with all the processes, with all the suppliers. There were contracts in place developed by super lawyers and so forth. And we have not been prepared in this regard when we started the startup. So no qualified suppliers and so forth. And when you are independent, you're independent startup, you pay the tuition and all the learnings from your own pocket. Yeah, and this hurts a bit. So this is definitely one of the learnings. Yeah, so to be clear about the kind of cooperation, to frame it correctly, to clarify the right and the duties, and yeah, this kind of relationship is very crucial. Yeah, so this was a difference, but the daily work is the same. So a corporate startup within Bosch or an external site is the same. Yeah, so we're dealing with the uncertainties, and you need to develop your products idea further and find customers and so forth. But of course, you are perceived differently as a small startup compared to a big ship, as you said, in the back with a big brand and yeah. So,
and a big group. Yeah. So that just brings me to a couple of, I mean, you are a seasoned executive turned entrepreneur, and the journeys on one side, corporate journey versus this one, which is, you're building the parachute when you've kind of, jumped off the plane. What are those 2-3 things which you wished you would have known before you started up?
Yeah, so this the one I just told you. Yeah, so how to develop this kind of corporations, how to frame it correctly right from the start, etc. But generally, I would say if you run a new company, you are faced with a lot of uncertainties. You have many hypotheses which needs to be validated or invalidated to go ahead. And actually, I like this uncertainty and this part of the journey. Yeah. So if I would know in advance where it goes to, there is no need for researching it. Yeah? But I like actually this process to figure out what is the most relevant question for the moment and how to develop an experiment to turn this hypothesis into knowledge, this uncertainty into knowledge. And so I frame this always. It's about optimization of the yeah. So as soon as you know more, yeah, you can optimize for the future, but not for the back. The question is that you reach this point quickly. Yeah, and maybe also some. So far, I would say at Spark we have not done too many detours. So so we stopped fast, etc. So because we had already experience in this field, and yeah, it's a good idea not to repeat mistakes you have done in the past. Yeah, I can tell you many of them. So one was, for instance, to rely too much on a first pilot. on his requirements, etc. It's great to have a pilot customer which is very enthusiastic about your idea and supporting it and investing his own money, etc. But at that time, we took it for granted that his competitors in the field will have the same demands, and you can just repeat the success, etc., which was not the case. And so this was one learning. Now, as one swallow does not make a summer. It's not one customer which makes the business. Yeah, so you need to be broader in this regard.
So this basically brings me to a very, before we jump into our topic, and I'm not going to go very deep into it, but I am very curious to know, in spite of the fact that you had such wealth of experience behind you, you have made a lot of mistakes, but I am yet to meet a startup, or I am yet to meet somebody who's started up and said that they haven't made those mistakes, or there've been some critical failures, as we call it, in the either in the process or in the design or in the market side. And we're going to use this as a just a couple of more questions that come to my mind, and then use them as a segue to get into our main topic. And what has been your biggest failure so far, and what exactly have you learned from it, and how you kind of quickly turn things around?
Yeah, generally, from a bird's eye view, I think it's what is very important is to have a balanced program. So I don't know whether you know Joanne Hyland. So she's quite famous. She has written a couple of books on corporate startups, on pivoting, etc. And luckily, during my time with the Bosch Startup Platform, she coached us, and she developed a method which I still use, and which is very, very helpful to understand all the relationships. And she called it the system TMRO, which stands for technology, market, resources, and organization. And the basic idea is that you develop your business in these 4 dimensions in a uniform way. So imagine there is a maturity scale, a maturity level on all these domains, and they need to fit. They need the maturity levels in these 4 domains. They need to fit to each other. Otherwise, you get into trouble. So from the technology side, you may know the technology readiness level by NASA. So it's a scale from 1 to 10. Can be applied here quite well. So 1 is means you have an idea. 10 means you have sent a rocket to the moon and astronauts return back and they are still safe. Everything is fine. And as you can imagine, there are also steps in between on the maturity scale. So you have a scale to evaluate the maturity with regard to your technology. And the same exists also for the market, which means how mature is your business model? How good do you know your customers, your competitors, how well it is your business case, the price, and so forth. The same exists for the resources and for the organization. So for the organization, you can imagine that you need different processes and different mindsets and people at the beginning when you just start to explore a new business. Compared to a later stage when you are going to scale or to expand your business to other countries, etc. It's a different story. Okay, and her idea is that this maturity levels in the 4 dimensions, they need to fit to each other at each stage. Yeah, and here the biggest failure I have already experienced when there was a mismatch. So in one activity, the maturity of technology and business was quite high, but not the organization. So this means you get in the scaling trap. There's no way to scale it because the organization is missing to exploit it and to scale it, etc. But also the other way around, I experienced within Bosch as well, that there was an idea which was not that mature. So technology and business model was not clear enough. It was still in an early stage. But on the other hand, there was a fully fledged organization already available, which were going to scale it. But this also doesn't work because you have a very rigid structure with a lot of processes, etc., and there's no possibility to pivot, to make changes, etc. And so this would be my plea to everyone. It's very important from time to time to step back on a meta level and just to analyze where you stay in this maturity level. Do they fit to each other? And if not, then to use this as a good hint what to prioritize next and where to put your focus on. Yeah, and but this scale, this maturity levels, you can define yourself. Yeah, so there's no blueprint. It depends also on the business, but for me this is extremely helpful. Because
no, this is absolutely this TMRO, because I wasn't even aware of that.
Yeah.
And I mean, it resonates so closely with me that I mean, I have seen quite a few startups failing, and apart from several reasons, I think, you know, you are either too early, too late, or, you know, one or the other of the dimension is just not stacking up.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm surprised you mentioned NASA and technology readiness. And,
Yeah,
you know what?
the big difference, it was just an example to understand
No,
the
I mean,
logic. But the big difference here is that for NASA, only the technology readiness level is important. Yeah, because they have there is no need for a market proof and resources, etc. They have it. Yeah, so it's only technology which counts.
You know, I'm a bit cynical about it. You know, since 1972, 19 December, where the technology readiness was 10, they have not been able to send anybody on the moon. Not even.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, that's another good question. Yeah.
So, okay, let me come back to the topic. And I mean, before we open the floor, because I think there's wealth of information, wealth of learnings from your side, which I think a lot of people could make use of. And thank you for sharing this TMRO model with us, because this is very helpful. Now I'm going to come to the market side, and you talked about the M and M as the you know, the market part of it. So how did you arrive at you know, how big is the market size for your product, or how did you, what were the steps you took? I'm sure you would have probably taken the course also to arrive at that. But I mean, I just wanted to, you know, get your view on it. How did you get to that stage?
Yeah. So actually, so this also fits to this TMRO logic. Yeah. So it's in the second column. Yeah. It's about the market, and of course also the figures you derive from your estimations, they develop over time. It's also an iterative process, and then the beginning, it is rough, but it's the best guess you have for the moment, starting with analysis of the market and the competitors and the customers, etc. But when you further proceed, we use for instance then market research, which means also surveys in the market to get into interaction with the customers and to better understand actually with the preferences, the willingness to pay, also to test the features you may develop for the product, and the sensitivity towards these features, etc. It's of course more and more time consuming, but more reliable. But I would say it's never It's never finished as long as the market is not there, or you have not fully developed your business. You cannot know.
So
But
very right.
I would say you start with quite big figures, and they shrink over time. It's like the lawn, which from far looks very greenish. Yeah, and if you get closer to the lawn, you see
The yellow
some oil
spots.
patches and how do you call them, mole holes or so. Yeah, that's the way it is. But it's also it's an iterative process.
Absolutely. No, absolutely clear. So, you talked very much about, assessing the market size and trying to get the voice of the customer to determine the features and the propensity for the customers to pay.
Yeah.
It's very important, and I think I should place it on the table here for any founders who are out there. This is called customer development, and it's not business development, it's customer development, trying to identify those areas and sweet spots. Exactly. And the willingness to pay, that should they have it today with you, then would they continue to use it, or they're going to drop it. The kind of assessments you need to do out there. The most important, and you very rightly said, these are like iterative processes. I have just a couple of questions around that, and if you don't mind me asking, what exactly led you to appeal to this particular set of customers? I want to get behind the mindset, the psychology of the mindset. You know what I mean? I want to go to the core, the kernel. So what made you appeal to this particular market which you are appealing to?
Okay. Yeah. So actually, we switched also. So here, as we said, both. It's an iterative process, and yeah, it's also a result of the market survey. Yeah. So in the theory, yeah. So when you try to explore the size of the market, the total addressable market, which is by definition the number of customers multiplied the price that they're going to pay for your product. But this two factors in this calculation, they're not independent of each other.
Got it. Absolutely.
Since yeah, if you give it for free, you have a lot of customers. If it's unaffordable or at a prohibitive price, there is no customer. So this needs to fit together, and also with the business case and with the technology, because having a market but not being able to develop the product to this cost is also no business. Yeah. So that's why I would never look at it that isolated. It is all goes together. In this regard. Okay.
Just to
okay, and just to return a bit to Sparkfield Core. So as discussed before, the strength training machine, which the major benefit of having a low footprint but providing a fully fledged gym in this machine.
2 square meters.
Yeah, 2 square meters. It's like a treadmill. It's not bigger than this. Yeah, but we have the degrees of freedom due to the robotic technologies, etc. And so we envisaged for us to address the private customers, yeah, a B2C market.
Discrete.
And we have run also a market survey on this, which was excellent, with excellent results. So there's a huge market for this. Also, there's a high willingness to pay. But nevertheless, for the moment, we pivoted to another market segment, which is the provider of fitness in companies. which is more of a B2B market, because we consider this as a better market entry strategy. Because all is linked together. It would mean entering immediately the B2C market would need to invest a lot of efforts into design to cost activities for the moment, into the production, etc., to meet the target cost. We cannot do at the moment. We cannot afford to invest millions into machines that we can then produce it for a smaller price. And that's why we decided to pivot and to enter into another market, which is also very interesting and on the rise, but which is not that restrictive with respect to the costs, and with this was also important to us, which does not mean any unpredictable path dependencies. Because if you enter into a market, there are special needs in this market, maybe new requirements, etc. And we selected such a market segment which also provide the same end customers with the same requirements at the end of the day with respect to the product, not to run into these issues. Because then there's no way out anymore, or very
You love to talk about technology. You love to talk about technology. I mean, okay. I mean, this is very interesting. But tell me, I'm going to throw this floor open to the audience, and they would ask you some questions, possibly some tricky ones, and probably pick your mind also in terms of your technical abilities. But one last question, and then I'm out. And that is that what are the worst resources that have been detrimental for you so far in your startup journey? Consider this, that you have a depth of experience when it comes to corporate side.
I mean, I somehow touched it already. So the learnings of my expectation when running a business outside of Bosch, that you are perceived differently by externals, and they have another focus or another agenda. I mean, it's okay when partners are focused on the financial aspects, etc. But this is I was not prepared. So what I want to say, we had some collaborations with people which we knew before, also from the Bosch time, where there were excellent cooperations, etc. And then there was a big disappointment when the attitude changed. When dealing with a startup, and okay, so it's okay, but I've not been prepared for this. So this was quite a struggle.
Okay, so you go.
So this was the worst resource.
So I think there's a very interesting question coming up from Aditya Mani. Aditya, you can briefly unmute yourself and ask the questions. Just go straight to the question, and we'll give Amos time to answer.
Hi, Amos. Thank you very much for those insights. I think what you bring to the table is pretty amazing, the kind of experience with Bosch. I've actually felt trapped to this. I was running a healthcare software company, and I always would keep thinking, when I go to one customer, all the requirements would automatically translate across the industry. And then we realized we've pivoted too much. We've gone too custom into the whole thing, which is when I actually split the company into and created a services company, which worked differently, and a product company, which had its own autonomy. So I was just commenting that it's important to stay away from the POC trap or the paid pilot trap, because it's comforting to keep getting the checks, because big companies will keep writing you those checks, but you move away from your strategy, your vision, because you're only executing on their strategy. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you,
Absolutely.
Aditya, for this insight. Amos, would you like to add a little bit to it? Because, you were on the other side of the table, making sure you suck those people in and keep handing out POCs. So you're being put on the spot once again, twice in this session. Yeah. Do you have anything to add or?
No, perfect. Yeah, it's
So
it's
you're-
fully in line. So if we made similar experiences, it means there's some truth in it.
Thank
Some
you.
evidence,
Thank you, Aditya, for bringing this up. I think this is hugely valuable. I do hear a lot from the founders that, they've got POCs with X, Y, Z, whatever else. So amazing. Thank you for this insight. Probably it'll be helpful for a lot of people. And we have Amos, who was on the other side, validating it. So thank you. Another question which we have is startups are looking to raise capital from or work with a larger corporate such as Bosch. What is the best way to get the foot in the door, and how long the process usually takes?
To get a foot into the door at a
Of
company
a large corporate like Bosch, like you were at Bosch Innovation. So,
Yeah.
you were inviting, I think it's more like going in the direction of corporate innovation.
Mhm.
And so
Yeah.
how difficult or easy, or how is it that you make Bosch invest into your idea?
Okay. Yeah. Also for Bosch, it is a journey behind, and of course, things has changed. There are also different entities in Bosch which are dealing with innovations. So in different areas. So, for instance, at Bosch there's subsidiary called RBVC. So this is the Bosch Venture Capital branch. So they invested hundreds of millions so far in external companies. So of course you can get access with them, but as we see, they have their area where they are active, and typically these activities, they are somehow related with Bosch, or at least if you look 10-15 years into the future, computer science and so forth. There's this Bosch startup platform, so it's more for internal ideas which are further explored, and the main target is then to transfer the results as soon as they are mature back to Bosch and to business units which can scale these ideas. Then there is an open Bosch platform, so for corporations, Bosch company, Bosch entities with startups, etc. There are so many. So if someone is interested, so we're very well linked still. So we could
make some introduction,
compile a list. What kind of possibilities exist, but as often there's no one solution fits all, and that's why there's a bunch of possibilities how to get in contact. Could also be directly linked to a business unit if it is very close to this business unit. Yeah, so if you have an idea for gardening, etc., then there's a business unit, lawn and garden, yeah, which belongs to power tools, and so forth. Yeah, but the barrier which needs to be overcome is to find the right person to ask, who to ask, or to whom to talk to. So you have here in the line at minimum 3 people from Bosch or related to Bosch. If you have an idea, we are happy to make the contact and to advise
that's amazing.
who to approach. Yeah.
So in nutshell, would it be okay if people approach you to request you to make some introductions or support?
Yeah.
So, you know, it's founder to founder kind of a support infrastructure. That's amazing. That's the power of the community that we also try to build together. Thank you so much. Much appreciated.
Miguel, I want to add something because I see that Marcus' book is on the line because your last question was about the worst resources question, and I would like to give also a good example, not to end up with some negative parts, because not because we are here in a DueDash event, but very sincerely and frankly, so it's really great to work with you guys together, and to feel also the passion about it. So the discussions, the expert discussion with Marcus and with Parul, they're really excellent because they're making our problems to their problems. You see how well prepared they get into these discussions. You get response very quickly over the weekend, and Marcus even visited us at the fair when we presented for the first time our system to the public. So thank you very much for this. Not so I would like to have a positive final comment, not.
Thank you so much. We much appreciate this kind of a feedback. You know, that's ultimately our goal, that if we can add that tiny bit of value to the journey, I think that's the ultimate success. Everything else is notional. And Marcus also put a question. He said, Marcus, you go ahead, ask yourself, why do you need the man in the middle then?
Hey, Almos, first of all, that was appreciated, that feedback. What the question that I have, because I mean, I was part of that process and I was wondering also, how did you feel in pivoting your business model from a B2C to B2B, and what is it that you found most difficult about it, about doing that pivot? Was it emotionally? Was it the work that came with it? That was something I was interested in.
It's the emotional part of it. This is of course, so because you fall in love with your idea, and the idea is not dead, it's still alive, and we are fully convinced that this will happen. And then it takes some time for this transformation, also on the slides, in the mindset, in the approach to the market. And it's a bit also of the feeling of sunk cost fallacy, because you invested so much into understand the market needs, etc. And honestly, you need to repeat this activity to understand better now the new situation, because it's the same user at the end of the day, which makes me very confident that there is no need to change the machine itself, the technology side of it. So a human is a human. It's human in our definition is from 1.55 m to 2 meters, etc. But different setup and the station, but we are very happy with it because we know this is now the right path. We reached the next maturity level, so this feels also good, to climb up the ladder in this regard. But as you have seen in our discussions, it takes some time to fully live it also in your slides, in your thinking, and so forth.
That's incredible, Amos. I think there are a lot of thank yous people are sharing with you. Guys, if you have any further questions, please go ahead. Otherwise, I don't want to continue asking questions. There are so much of diverse angles which you can extract from Amos. So go ahead. Aman Sadiq, Aman, you could potentially unmute yourself. I give you a chance to go show your face and ask the question directly to Amos.
Sure, thanks, Nikhil. Thanks, Amos, for the insightful session. So I had this question. So I wanted to understand, like, what metrics you considered while pivoting to B2B from B2C, Reason why I'm asking this question, because I understand that the product is a great fit for personalized training for a B2C channel rather than being used in traditional gyms.
And what was the question? Why we have pivoted, or
What were the KPIs? What were the KPIs which made you take that decision that you need to move from B2C to B2B market? Or is it just like, what exactly were the thought processes around it and the KPIs?
So basically, it's still, since we are still in an early phase, and so we do not know exactly what our costs will look like at the end, etc. It was mostly about the costs. So we analyze already the willingness to pay from the customer side. Okay, in a research, in a survey, which is good, but this is not the truth. The truth happens when you start selling the system, and this business is today not existing. So it means you need to develop the customers, you need to develop the market, etc. And we have seen this as a too high barrier to overcome for the moment. And on the other hand, we have seen that there is a pull from another side of the market, which also sounds very reasonable. And as said before, with all these ideas, not to run into part dependencies, etc. So we have also talked to sport clubs here from Bundesliga, so from a German Premier League, and so forth. High interest also from their side, but this would pull us into the wrong direction with regards to the business. So basically, we see this as a soft start, a reasonable soft start into the market, and this is what you need from the beginning, that you have a protective space where you can further develop your business and increase the maturity of the product and the services and so forth, and we will leave it then to the future to expand into these others. There are other approaches, but you will not find such companies, I think, in Germany, but in Silicon Valley, where they're doing this kind of blitz scaling, where you throw in hundreds of millions, and you bet on something, and then you can make it immediately into the huge market, but also with the risk. This possibility you don't have in Germany. I think
I agree with you. Amos. I think we are in Germany. We are a bit more balanced and risk averse, if I may say.
Exactly. Yeah. So there's a lot of money. Yeah, there is a wealthy country, and I assume that you get funding as soon as you have reached high maturity, and then but you can go also to the bank then. Yeah, so no uncertainties anymore. Then you get or less uncertainties, business model clarified, and you just need to scale it. But for early stage idea to get a lot of funding.
Correct, absolutely correct. Every market has got its own nuances, and
exactly.
So we are at a DueDash, we are very, very cognizant of that aspect in every market, and thankfully we are a team which is from an age perspective also, it understands the nuances, and then from the geography perspective as well. So we kind of have been operating in different areas. So I totally get you, and I totally understand. And I think what happens is, unfortunately, this whole Silicon Valley mindset gets peddled across the world. And then I call it Shark Tank mindset, that is just peddled across the world, and people are left confused. Anyways, I have I'm not sure if we are getting more questions from the audience, but I have some questions which is pertaining to your experience on DueDash as a platform. And what exactly were the toughest parts of the platform build from your style, from a Sparkfield standpoint, to build up your infrastructure on that? And what was the value you derived in terms of when you went through the process?
Yeah. I guess Delia, who is in the line, could better answer this. So maybe she will unmute and tell you something about this, because she was carrying us through the process. I'm honestly, I'm the guy I like more to talk and to do this conversations and to learn this way instead to using a tutorial and so on. I've read quite a lot of books on startup and whatever, etc., and they're all excellent, great books, but I'm not sure whether the people understand actually what is written there, because I experienced many times that when I read this book, I was so astonished that there was so much of wisdom in one line or two lines, because you have run through the same experience yourself, and then you understand. Okay, yeah, exactly. That's how it is. It is written here, but I'm not sure whether someone who reads this for the first time understand what is written there. You read the sentence, but experience you need to do yourself. Otherwise, you don't learn it. Yeah, and so that's why the discussion with Marcus, Parul, super. Yeah, so I highly appreciate this, but I cannot on the process, etc. So maybe Delia can tell more.
So Delia, if you're online and you're listening to this,
yes, I am.
Okay, Delia, quickly tell us. And this is a Sparkfield event, by the way, so you're free to go full out. Maybe you want to also use the spotlight by unmuting your camera.
So then you see also some nice faces.
Yes, we can. Go ahead. So Delia, go ahead. Tell us, what was the most difficult part of when you were building up on DueDash platform?
Well, I guess this is the amount of time you need to comply with the requirements of the platform, I would say, because everything is kind of known for us, like what you wrote down in the tutorials, the different things we need in the pitch, the different things we need in the data rooms, etc. But behind it means a lot of discussions also in the team to be really able to take out the essence and to bring it correctly and transparently to some other people, and to make it so easy that anyone can understand what it is about. And for us, it's a very big challenge, but we really appreciate it. And I think this is also what Amos said, the exchange at this stage, because we kind of tried our best in the initial phase to put the things to the point. And even after some discussions, we were able to bring it also to the next level. So this was, I mean, everything is time consuming, of course, but it's very, very fulfilling at the end.
Thank you. So what were the most interesting parts and were the most least favorite parts for you?
I think it's about maybe the usability of the profile. I mean, it's really small, like what I would say, right? Because actually, I worked in a Word document and filled afterwards the profile, because at some points, for instance, you have those characters maximum, and you really have to fit it. And at some point, you really need to go to be able to fit those character numbers. And well, I mean, it was really back and forth, and at some point also to see how it looks like on the profile itself, because like the way you are making the survey to pick up, to collect the informations from the founder side, it's afterwards in the dashboard it's a little differently put out. And afterwards I took just the how to say, I had the habit afterwards to first have a look where everything is put, and then try to fill out the information so that at the end there is a nice big picture. So I think you just need to work a little with the platform to understand how it works out, and then you win on speed. But at the beginning, it's you just have to start using it and understand, and well,
Wonderful.
that's it. I mean,
Thank you so much. Thank you. And with that, we are reaching the end of our session. One last thing, Amos, last words from you. What advice do you have for upcoming entrepreneurs, on upcoming startup founders?
Yeah, passion is all about passion. You need to love the uncertainty, and consider this TMRO logic. This is very helpful.
Thank you so much. We have another logic which we call as 5T model. I'm sure you're familiar with that. And the investors are calibrating you, assessing you on these 5 dimensions. I'll just leave it with that. Okay. Team, timing, traction, technology, and TAM. And today we talked very briefly about TAM. But I think you made a very important point that it's all about customer development to really assess the market and the propensity for the customers to pay. With that, thank you, everybody. Thank you so much for participating today. And I hope you derived value out of it. Thank you so much. Yeah. Have a nice day, evening, night, morning, wherever you are.